Hello, welcome back to the Out of Spec podcast, and welcome to another episode with our friend Coleton here at Out of Spec Detailing, which, you know what that means. We're going to learn about taking care of your car in all the ways you're probably not. Uh, and happy incoming winter, Coleton. We just got a first snow. It's not crazy snow, but we've had a couple little snow showers in the past few days here, and this made me think of the topic of winterization. Now, there are kind of two topics or two subsets of winterization. There's the kind where you put your sports car away for the winter, never touch it, and then just can't wait for spring when you pull it back out. And then there's the people that drive their car all winter and enjoy it, use it for what it's meant to be used, but also, I don't know if you could say meant to be used, because we do put them through some harsh conditions sometimes, but it's a car, it's a tool, and sometimes that's what you got to do to get from point A to point B in these winter months. And for those who don't know, we're in Colorado, so there's a lot of stuff we interact with, rough roads, questionable materials being put on the roads to thankfully keep it from icing, which is safety first, but also deteriorating our car in various ways. So I think I want to focus this episode more on the winterization of everyday drivers. So what can you tell us about what you should do in preparation for winter? And then we can talk about in a little bit how to keep it looking good through the winter.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things to talk about with kind of getting your car ready for winter is having some sort of protection on the vehicle in general. So if you have a ceramic coated car, maybe having it hand washed, reinvigorated again to make sure that it's looking as good as possible. If you don't have a ceramic coated car, something like a spray sealant would be good to have on there just to add a little bit of protection on the paint, on the wheels. I know typically, and I think probably most of us out of Spec here have a winter and summer wheel and tire setup. So make sure you're getting those wheels and tires out, checking the pressure, looking at seeing how the tires are actually looking too can be very important. My personal Audi A6 that sits outside all the time, I just realized has completely weather checked winter tires. So not going to be driving that car too much. I'll be driving the all road instead. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, we have another podcast either coming soon or already out that's on ceramic coating specifically, which is a whole other topic to have a fun deep dive on. But yeah, that really helps throughout the winter, really throughout the whole year. You know, we interact with rain and pollen and various things that just happen throughout the year. A lot of dirt roads out here. But yeah, the snow it can be a challenge. And then I guess to really keep your car running through the winter, I mean, like you said, if it's ceramic coated or protected or sealed in some way, that makes it easier to get the grime off it because the grime is constant. But we also have chemicals on the roads. I guess, first of all, do you know what they use on our streets? And didn't they change it recently?
Yeah, so I don't exactly know when they've changed this, but from what I was understanding, they were using mag chloride before, and now they're using more of a salt brine composition. Typically what you see in the East Coast, New York, that kind of area like that. And the roads here will just turn white. I mean, literally white. And you got to think about all of that. You're adding all of that to your undercarriage and the wheels on the paint. It's just all this grime. So big thing, what I tell my clients to do in the wintertime is Colorado's kind of interesting, actually, how our weather cycle works here. Typically, we'll get a couple days of snow and it'll get sunny. That's always Colorado, right? If you don't like the weather, wait a day, wait 5 minutes. You never know. But yeah, getting that kind of rinsed off. So actually in Colorado, one of our big car washes here is called Auto Wash, and they're kind of all over. We've got multiple in Fort Collins. I know you probably have some down near you, Jordan, and Denver area as well. And they have a great, I think it's one of the best subscription models for keeping cars clean. So I think it's like $25, $30 a month, and you get to wash your vehicle once every single day. So it's basically unlimited. So I've got clients who will kind of rotate cars through, and they take their truck through and the SUV and the whatever it may be, kind of every third day or whatever the case. But it's really nice to just be able to rinse and get all of that grime off. And the most important thing is there is not going through a brush car wash and just absolutely destroying the paint in the meantime.
Yeah, those brush washes are rough, and it's crazy to see how many are out there. And honestly, that's a whole other podcast topic, or really more of a rant. Would be just the fact I travel so much and I'm driving a lot. I love road tripping, and I'm always in a new city. And the most annoying thing to do is try to figure out where to find a car wash, because car wash is a very generic term that can typically revolve around a really crappy brush wash, or maybe a self-service wash that works half the time and doesn't have good products in it. And it's just, and so many of them are never even rated. People just, I don't know why, people just either use them because they work, or go and they don't work and they don't tell anyone anything. It is really genuinely maddening. And I think we have a great system here. You know, we have auto wash. There's a few others as well. There's a lot of auto wash locations. I will say their subscription has gone up quite a bit. It's about $40 a month now, although they have one cheaper that is more limited, like you can, I think, go less often or something. So there still is a more attainable option, but the main one you're mentioning was 25 when I moved here, and now it's all the way up to 40, which is steep. But at the same time, if you are going more than like twice in a month, then that technically kind of
makes
pays
it worth
for itself based on their service. And they have, you know, undercarriage blasting and all that, and really good self-service one. I mean, I drive a Miata, which you've seen, and it is a hard top, but it still is a convertible. And so some of those seals aren't made for a contour pressure washing wash. It'll work okay, but sometimes water will kind of like seep through because it's so powerful. So I typically just do kind of the undercarriage run through without the contour wash, and then I'll do a self-service wash. They do it all. It's really cool. And I will say their $40 a month thing doesn't include a detail once a year as well. So there are perks to it. And maybe we should talk to them about sponsorship, because but yeah, it's
definitely.
Winter is intriguing, and I think it's fun. Like you said, having snow tires is a huge component, I think, for a car, because that can literally make or break the drivability. I mean, I drive a rear-wheel drive lightweight vehicle, which everyone would say you don't drive in the winter. That's the car you put away and drive in the summer. But I have snow tires, and that literally makes it totally doable. Granted, there's always conditional restrictions. I mean, crazy snow, I might have ground clearance issues before anything. And there are times when, yeah, more wheels driven would be nice. All-wheel drive would be great. But there's also a lot of times where all-wheel drive can give you that placebo of like, oh, I'm invincible, and then you hit ice and try to stop. All-wheel drive can do nothing for you there. But I think, like you said, the protecting the paint from all the stuff just kicked up. The snow plows are always going through, which can hurt the roads and cause rocks and debris to kind of settle in, and then your cars are picking that up and throwing it on you. It's all a rough component, which makes it all exciting in its own way, but also just there's so many times where I've been driving and I'm like cringing because I'm thinking about how my car, which was clean a second ago, is going to look at the end of this drive. But yeah, the undercarriage stuff is important. I think a lot of people don't really realize that. And we are an interesting climate here, because Colorado is actually quite dry. We're semi-arid, like kind of like a desert, just a high desert. So not as wet as the Northeast per se, but like you said, with the salt brine stuff, that can still cause a lot of challenges with rust or just wearing down paint. And is plastic affected as well by some of these compounds? Because we're seeing a lot of cars with plastic on the sides.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it really affects everything. And, me having my Tesla Model 3 here, I'm kind of curious as far as like, if you're not rinsing out the underneath, does that, hurt the batteries underneath, getting up into all those electrical components? That always kind of strikes me as something I would be concerned about. Typically like normal water isn't bad, but once you start adding salt into things and electronics, it can just play havoc. So it's kind of interesting there. I haven't really seen much, but I've always kind of thought about that. Now, my Tesla doesn't normally go out in the winter. I don't buy snow tires for it. I purchased another car to be the winter beater, if you will. So I've got a C5 all-road with air suspension and crazy off-road tires that'll be kind of my winter blaster for this winter. But it was interesting, you were talking about snow tires, how much of a difference it makes. My wife has a Tiguan R line that we got, and I swear it is the worst car in the snow I have ever been in. It's got these, I think, 19 or 20-inch wheels on it with like the thin rubber band tires, and they're rated as all season. And I'm not kidding. It like literally gets an ounce of snow and she's sliding through stop signs. So I actually just last night placed an order for a full set of snow tires and wheels for her car, because I hate that swapping tires on the wheels back and forth twice a year. It just drives me nuts. So
yeah, absolutely. And there's some places that will even, swap your tires and then store them. And because a lot of people do run one set of wheels and two sets of tires, that's an option. But of course, the easiest way, and like you said, I do that too. I have my Miata with 16-inch wheels with more thicker, aggressive snow tires, and then my 17s with my PS4S summer tires. And those are my two options. In a perfect world, I'd probably have 5 sets of wheels, one with like track slicks, one just kind of all season / all weather, maybe one studded, one non-studded, you can go
crazy with it.
But it's fun, honestly. Winter driving, it can be exciting, can be scary, but it is amazing the difference. I just took our Rivian out to Vegas on all season tires and drove through some snow on the way out there, and it got a little scary at times, but then drove through heavy snow on the way back. But while I was out there, I was switched to all weather tires, not even snow official, but they were snow rated all weather tires from Nokia, and they were the Outpost all terrains. And I was absolutely floored how well these performed. There was a lot of people struggling with grip on I-70, and I was doing just fine, still taking it very slow and easy, but I never felt a lack of confidence that I felt in other vehicles with worse tires, or even that truck with worse tires. So winter's scary, but I don't think you should necessarily prevent that from driving your car. What I don't want to see is someone with a car they absolutely love and they're just too afraid of taking it out in the snow. Not because they are afraid of protecting it necessarily, they're just afraid of the unknown. And I want to say there are methods you can do to protect the exterior of the car and keep it looking good all winter. Like you said, the ceramic coating and the sealant is a big option. Of course, with the wheels, they can build up with brake dust and just crazy amounts of dirt. Ceramic coating those as well. There's so many things you can do. And of course, please protect that undercarriage if you can. Do you know, obviously you can go through these car washes like Auto Wash with the undercarriage blast, which you really should do after every snowstorm if you can, and even more often. Are there like protectants for undercarriages as well?
So undercarriages are pretty notoriously difficult to get into because obviously you can't see them. You either have to have a lift or something spraying out underneath it. We actually just did on the R1S, we're going to have a full wash video coming out on Out of Spec Detailing. Not sure if that'll be out first or after this video. Nonetheless, I have a tool here at the shop that I can hook up to my pressure washer to pressure wash underneath the vehicle. I'm trying to find a way to be able to put some sort of degreaser down in there, or some sort of cleaning solvent, soap, something to kind of detach all of that instead of just using water. Because as much as water helps, it doesn't really get into those cracks and crevices all in there. It's nice to have something sit in there, dwell, actually use the chemical to break down dirt, salt, all that kind of grime in the winter. I also wanted to make a quick point on Rivian in the winter time, because Kyle has mentioned this multiple times with driving his R1T through the winter time, that the actual headlights on the front, because the Rivians are literally a slab, and that the headlights, because they don't produce heat due to the LED bulbs, I believe it is, in the actual headlight housing, don't put out enough heat, and these things kind of freeze over and can be really tricky, in extreme winter conditions like we get here in blizzards and areas where you can't see in front of you. So I think we're going to do some testing on some different ceramic coatings on his R1T, maybe doing one of the sides on ceramic coating it, maybe a couple different coatings to see what works, what doesn't work, versus none. So I think we'll have a video coming out on that as well, but kind of interesting to note in that regard as well.
Yeah, and I experienced it firsthand. You know, basically driving back from Vegas through the night. So relying on the lights, and at some point I was like, wow, these are kind of dim. And then yeah, getting to a charging stop and realizing the front of the truck. Of course, the truck also gave warnings on the inside because the radar was ineffective. So basically, snow and just crud from the road gathered up on the front of the truck, like you said, is a slab, blocked my headlights, blocked the radar, and there's no heating elements that they ran through that. It did seem kind of a weird oversight. Of course, there's so much that goes into developing a vehicle, so I guess if this is the only thing wrong, which it's not, but if this is one of the things wrong, it could be much worse. And it's very
Hmm.
specific conditions. People in Houston with the Rivians are not really going to run into this, except for
Right.
the dirt. I mean, the dirt, it's still being a slab, it still collects a lot of dirt, so you really need to keep that clean. Otherwise, it will just get progressively thicker of stuff on it, and removing that's
Yeah.
not fun.
Yeah, and that's where like those ceramic coatings really play in. Like on so my Audi Allroad actually, and this is kind of interesting just to know on the Rivian is they don't even have the sprayers that pop up. A lot of German cars do this that use the actual windshield wiper fluid to spray onto the actual headlight lens to kind of clear that dirt and grime out. My Allroad still has that. It's got this crazy system that pops up, sprays them. I actually had to use it last night because mine were doing the same thing. That card's actually not ceramic coated. So I do want to play with that and see if that makes a big difference or none at all. I think that'd be kind of interesting to check out.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, we'll just be the winter, I don't know, test subjects, guinea pigs. We'll try all sorts of things because it's still a growing way that we're learning about how to drive cars better and protect them better. And there's just all the fun winter life hacks in Colorado, and I think it's kind of entertaining. For some people, it's stressful. I think it's kind of fun. It's all part of it, if you will. But yeah, appreciate you helping me kind of dive in on this subject and touch on a few things. There's a lot more we can cover, and I think it'd probably be good to talk about a whole other episode at some point on almost like the other kind of winterization that I mentioned. So let us know in the comments if you want to hear what to do with your car that's not the winter daily driver. What do you do when you store a car for a long period of time? How do you protect it? Is car covers good or bad? There's a lot to get into with that. I think that's another great show, great subject. But for this one, happy winter driving, folks. Get some snow tires, get proper tires, and enjoy the beauty that is Colorado or wherever you are. Hopefully, it's beautiful in its own way. And thanks, Colton, for joining.
Sure, absolutely.